Welcome to our continuing series, Questions and Answers, from the works of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. Today's subject, Delight, Part 1. From Sri Aurobindo. The aim of this synthetic or integral yoga, which we are considering, is union with the being, consciousness, and delight of the divine through every part of our human nature, separately or simultaneously, but all in the long end harmonized and unified, so that the whole may be transformed into a divine nature of being. Since he withdraws into impersonality, we follow after his impersonal being and delight. But since he meets us also in our personality and through personal relations of the divine with the human, that too we shall not deny ourselves. We shall admit both the play of the love and the delight and its ineffable union. By knowledge, we seek unity with the divine in his conscious being. By works, we seek also unity with the divine in his conscious being. Not statically, but dynamically, through conscious union with the divine will. But by love, we seek unity with him in all the delight of his being. It is only when delight intervenes that the motive of integral union becomes quite imperative. This delight, which is so entirely imperative, is the delight in the divine for his own sake, and for nothing else, for no cause or gain whatever beyond itself. It does not seek God for anything that he can give us or for any particular quality in him, but simply and purely because he is our self and our whole being and our all. It embraces the delight of the transcendence, not for the sake of transcendence, but because he is the transcendent, the delight of the universal, not for the sake of universality, but because he is the universal, the delight of the individual, not for the sake of individual satisfaction, but because he is the individual. To possess him absolutely, indeed, is necessarily the aim of his delight in his being. But this comes when we possess him utterly and are utterly possessed by him, and need be limited to no particular status or condition. To seek after him in some heaven of bliss is to seek him not for himself, but for the bliss of heaven. When we have all the true delight of his being, then heaven is within ourselves. And wherever he is and we are, there we have the joy of his kingdom. So too, to seek him only in ourselves and for ourselves is to limit both ourselves and our joy in him. The integral delight embraces him not only within our own individual being, but equally in all men and in all beings. And because in him we are one with all, it seeks him not only for ourselves, but for all our fellows. a perfect and complete delight in the divine, perfect because pure and self-existence, complete because all-embracing as well as all-absorbing, is the meaning of the way of bhakti for the seeker of the integral yoga. Once it is active in us, all other ways of yoga convert themselves, as it were, to its law and find by it their own richest significance. This integral devotion of our being to God does not turn away from knowledge. The bhakta of this path is the God-lover who is also the God-knower, because by knowledge of his being comes the whole delight of his being. But it is in delight that knowledge fulfills itself, the knowledge of the transcendent in the delight of the transcendent, the knowledge of the universal in the delight of the universal Godhead, the knowledge of the individual manifestation in the delight of God in the individual, the knowledge of the impersonal in the pure delight of his impersonal being, the knowledge of the personal in the full delight of his personality, the knowledge of his qualities and their play in the delight of the manifestation, the knowledge of the quality less in the delight of his colorless existence and non-manifestation. So too, this God-lover will be the divine worker, not for the sake of works or for a self-regarding pleasure in action, but because in this way God expends the power of his being, and in his powers and their signs we find him, because the divine will in works is the outflowing of the Godhead in the delight of its power, of divine being in the delight of divine force.